Back with me now, Women of the World founder Tina Brown. She has been at the forefront of the women's leadership movement and detailed the work of women and their impact on society in a new op-ed in the New York Times. Next week, she will be hosting the 10th, I can't believe it's been 10 years, 10th Women in the World Summit. The mission of this group is to gather female leaders and activists from across the globe. And the question they're addressing this year, it's not a small one. Can women save the world? Tina, I do want to start with the Joe Biden question and Nancy Pelosi's reaction, because people are concerned that issues are getting conflated. Me Too opened a window, and now we see so many women coming forward about sexual assault. This isn't assault, but maybe it is something else that has to be addressed.
Well, the truth is that Joe Biden comes from the sort of crustacean era of gender relations, let's face it. He is a man who's from a wholly different kind of alpha man strutting the world, you know, generation.
So do we throw those people out, or do we help them evolve?
I think we help them evolve, personally. I mean, I actually think that Joe Biden has an incredible record with the Violence Against Women co-sponsoring, which he drafted. He didn't do well at all with Anita Hill. And actually, he blew the opportunity during the Kavanaugh hearings, I think, to make that his moment where he did his whole kind of mea culpa and said, I so got that wrong, I so apologize, and actually call her and do so, which he never did. So he's got that issue to deal with, a lot of issues to deal with. I suspect it does mean, I mean, because there is a reason why this movement after Me Too is called Time's Up. There is a reason why he shouldn't run, really, which is that it's not about this that he shouldn't run, but because he's not nimble in the mores and language of today. And I think he's going to spend a lot of this campaign apologizing for all kinds of things that he did or didn't do, things that he, you know, baggage from the past. I think he's an amazing, noble guy in many, many ways. But I suspect that time is up for Joe Biden.
In your op-ed, you're asking the question, what happens when women stop leading like men? What does that even look like?
Well, what I've really been impressed about is just how when they're actually allowed to lead, you know, they do extraordinary and unexpected things when they behave like women rather than like men.
Heavy on emotional intelligence.
Just Jacinda Ardern, PM of New Zealand. I mean, how exquisite. She was only known, frankly, for being, you know, a young mother who gave birth, in, you know, as a world leader. Wow. But then the tragedy happened with the Muslim slayings in Christchurch in the mosque, and she just instinctively put on that hijab, which became this iconic a sort of statement of solidarity with Muslims. And then all over New Zealand, women started donning the hijab in solidarity with the Muslims, like she did. And then the next thing is the Arab world takes note and are projecting the image of her in that hijab over monuments in the UAE and so on. So it's like, that was an incredible moment, I thought. And I think, you know, we just saw Nancy Pelosi, and wow, I mean, she is such an example of how a woman can lead differently. I mean, you know, she manages to keep at bay the tangerine toddler, right, in the White House. I mean, she knows how to soothe her committee, her angry committee, with, like, you know, timeouts and committee treats and keep everybody corralled. And I love what she said in after this very angry, you know, post-Mueller caucus with her leadership, and they were all furious and all vowing revenge and all the rest. And she said, calm down, calm down. We don't want to be like them. And that is what I think women can bring to the table, which is, instead of apologizing for their different style of leadership, they should really step up to it. You know, they should say, look, we are women who we know, because we're caregivers, we're mothers, we look after elderly parents. We're the designated caregivers most of the time, or have been until recently. That gives them that additional gene of being able to just somehow delay their own gratification. I would bet you that none of the married women currently running for president are quietly sort of sexting their boyfriends, pictures of themselves doing inappropriate things. I just think women know how to delay that kind of gratification, and yet we have all these men every day being kind of, you know, circling the drain. We've seen Robert Kraft, you know, we've seen, R. Kelly. You know, it's like an explosion of men who can't seem to delay their gratification. They just can't do it. Women are good at that. Let us just at least say, I mean, what Hillary Clinton did once say, because she lived for so long with a man who didn't have it, she said women have the responsibility gene. And I do think that's true. Doesn't make them always better leaders. We've seen with Theresa May, her stumbling around the glass cliffs of Dover, and totally, you know, inept. But she only was there because all those upper-class men, totally messed up Brexit, and left her as the only person standing. And, they're still being sabotaging anything she's trying to do.
Well, whether we have the responsibility, Jean, or not, we don't have a choice. We just have to do it.
Precisely. The unpaid burdens, we have to just take them up, which gets back to equal pay again.
Which gets back to equal pay. A whole other subject, stay-at-home mothers, how they need some tax breaks. That is a full-time job.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.